What profession deserves more respect? Wastewater civil engineers. You probably don't know what that is. But the fact that your toilet flushes without turning the entire city into one big poo swampies because they did their job properly. The world around us is much cleaner and much healthier because this job exists. Garbage men. All year regardless of conditions they do the job. Said this before. I feel like garbage men gets a lot of respect. People understand that society would near collapse without them. I imagine more people would have fire pits in their backyard and maybe learn to waste less without them. Anyone involved in maintenance. The world would come to a halt if these people didn't monitor and replace, grease and otherwise make sure shit ran smoothly every day. Janitors. Not only do they keep the world pleasant to look at, they are one of our best lines of defense against pathogens. They also have nigh unlimited access to the building they janit and tend to know basically everything about the goings on in their place of work. Janitors and secretaries are some of the most powerful people in any given organization. I have found that in every office job I've had, there's always, eventually, been a time I've needed the secretary or receptionist to do something for me she had no obligation to do. I try to be nice to everyone for the sake of being nice to everyone, but it didn't hurt that they came through when I needed them. All professions. I respect anyone out there doing a honest day's work. Yup. Anyone who does even the most menial jobs with pride has my respect. One time in Tokyo, I left a 7-Eleven after purchasing a drink that was missing a required straw. Clerk from 7-Eleven ran half a block to catch up to me to hand me the straw. Much respect to these people. I'm surprised that the clerk knew which way you went and caught up. Pharmacists. Nobody realizes how much school they go through and what their job really is, and how many potentially deadly mistakes by prescribing doctors they catch. If you ever get to a place where you are on a handful of pills and can't keep them straight, for God's sake go to the same pharmacist always, so they have your history. They are eagle-eyed and might save your butt. This is true. Our pharmacist caught a potentially deadly medication combination a few years ago. I was never rude at the pharmacy, but ever since I've tried my best to be extra pleasant whenever I go. Sanitation workers for sure. Coroners. There's no way I'd be able to do that job. Security guards. Doing a shitty job for a shitty pay. In my country at least. The company's mentality must be like, here, guard these very expensive objects day and night. Working days and holidays. Oh. Salary. Well, here's minimum wage. After all, anyone could do that. I did it actually. My first job was very well paid. It involved possible firearm response to armed robbers. The security company's services were terminated after a year without incidents. Found myself out of a job and went to find other security jobs. Reality check. Shit wages. Quit industry. Truck drivers. Fun fact. If we all took the weekend off, people start dying by Sunday morning. True deal. Anyone working in retail. I just think people who do a good job deserve more respect than those who don't. Teachers. Think about all the shit that you, or people in your classes, did every day that your teachers not only had to deal with and navigate, but also had to try to teach the CL-BUT content. Shit's hard. Teachers should get paid way more. They're on the front line for genuinely trying to improve the next generation of young people. I agree that teachers should be paid a lot more, but I also think they should be held much more accountable for their jobs. I've seen too many teachers who just don't give a shit, and it's the students who suffer for it. Teachers and educators. Absolutely. Too many people think they know what teaching involves since they happen to sit in a classroom at the same time as a teacher. Too many political parties using it as a political football. My wife said she respects me as a teacher because the teaching part she could never do. Lol. If it was just the teaching part, none of us would complain. Road construction. Without them, no roads to drive on. IDK. We have an NJ, and it doesn't seem to help. Roads are still shit. Utility workers that spend their days making sure the power stays on at important places like hospitals. Caregivers for the elderly people. Yes, this is a terribly talented profession. People who can work with the elderly and preserve their humanity and dignity are angels. Merchant Marines. Most killed civilians killed in WW2 in the US. All they got is a few medals and a statue. Nurses and teachers. I adore nurses. They are usually wonderful people. Now, trust me, I can be an a-holler sometimes. Cashiers and people who work at fast food places. I can't stand how they get talked down to. Anyone doing an honest work deserves respect. Teaching. Specifically in special edition. I was an ed tech in an autism room for 3 years and, while it was great, and I loved it, I was a much less patient, much more stressed person when I left, as well as riddles with little bruises, and not very much of a gross income. Agricultural workers. At all ends of the spectrum. From the farm managers to the people picking the crops to the people involved in food processing and shipping. That shit is hard. Hard work. Often conducted in some of the most unforgiving of conditions. Not to mention the insane logistics involved on every level. Teachers. You'll pay them like they are glorified babysitters and yell at them while simultaneously not lifting a finger to help your kids. I agree they need better pay, but let's be real. At a certain point in your kids' schooling years, you can't really help them anymore. Sometimes my kids bring homework that I have to do to Kingrasark for an hour just to help with. I don't remember that shit. I also have responsibilities I have to take care of. I empathize with that. I should specify I was meaning more like parents who are full-time utilizers of the electronic babysitter or can't be bothered to read to their young kids. Hospital cleaners. 90% of the reduction in death from disease over the last 100 years has come from improvements in hygiene. Farmers. We have food thanks to them. All of the blue-collar jobs. Plumbers. Electricians. HVAC. Auto mechanics. All of them. They get looked down on because they didn't go to college and work outside. But they get to work almost 4 years sooner than college grads, and tradesmen often make more than the average college grad these days. Also, imagine how quickly civilization ends without the people who build things showing up to work every day. Anyone in the food industry, especially the service side, don't duck with the people who handle your food. Any and all medical jobs. People take for granted the fact that old people working in the medical profession are required to go to work. RN, the nursing home nurses, the mental hospital techs, the front desk people, dermatologists, like literally everyone. Paramedics aren't just going into where there is known to be people with coronavirus. They also have to take the gamble of going in to houses where no one thinks they have the virus, but could all be asymptomatic, or to deliver critical first responder care for all kinds of condition. Doctors and nurses of course also deserve recognition, but comparatively a lot of people forget about the paramedics dealing with this. During the first year of my residency in emergency medicine, one of the experiences we rotated through was a week of riding with local EMS. There were some hours of waiting around, but mostly it was quite busy. It's not a job I think I could do. 1 or 2 times we had to wait outside for police to secure the scene. Domestic violence, stabbing, and several times the scene was just really unlivable. Hoarders, alcoholics, people being rowdy. It was always chaotic. People feeling foolish or scared, babbling. Perhaps my memory of it was in particularly high relief because it came so early in training, and I would not feel so overwhelmed by it now that I'm old and jaded. Anyhow, I feel like I get disproportionate respect for my job as an emergency physician. I have the luxury of working in a space that I know, with a team that I know, and I know my people outnumber the rowdy unknown intoxicated person. I have plan A, B, C and D, and I know I have a ton more options for equipment and medication. I'm not trying to figure out how to carry heavy weak people down flights of stairs. Now in pandemic I'm also grateful for negative pressure rooms, HEPA filters, and comparatively short patient contact time. EMS are amazing. Against the grain here, but the fact that pro athletes make millions and teachers make peanuts comparatively really rankles. They are games. Who gives a shit? Kids should get every advantage possible when it comes to education. Only the most elite players are making millions. It's a very low number of people. To make that much you have to be lucky enough to be born with the right genes. Have to dedicate your entire life to the sport. Be lucky enough to be noticed and avoid injury. Plus the comparison doesn't make much sense since the budget for paying teachers and for paying athletes are completely separated. If we put a maximum pay on athletes, it would not change teacher pay. McDonald's ice cream engineers. Teachers, because the virtual learning is kicking my butt. Yes, I could ace all of my college classes except for the advanced math courses. Some things books cannot do. You need real people, not YouTube or BitChute videos either. Anyone in any field who is fortunate enough to be passionate about what they do. Cashiers, for fuck's sake, let them sit in a chair. People working retail or front desk. But really, anyone working honestly deserve respect, regardless of the job. I sometimes see people shit on McDonald's workers while going to McDonald's, without realizing that without those useless McDonald's workers, they wouldn't get their ducking Big Macs. Electricians, see, literally putting their life on the line so you have electricity. Cleaners, imagine what public toilets, buildings, etc. would be like without them. People are disgusting. Paramedics. My dad is one, and half the time people just say ambulance man or just ambulance. They are just seen as a tool, not real people sometimes. Childcare workers. I've been working in early childhood education in daycares and private preschools for over 10 years, and most of those businesses only see us as numbers on a spreadsheet and not actual human beings who take care of all of your children. They mostly only care about their bottom line and their own income. Also, I've learned that so many parents fight so hard to not believe us when we try to let them know about their child's challenging behavior and look for excuses to blame us for all their kids' issues. Most don't even try to keep up with what we do at the facility with their kids, and when they go home, what we've taught them goes out the window and we have to start all over the next day. Granted, there are some really great families out there that show appreciation, but many places wouldn't have the high turnover rates they do if they just treated their workers with some kindness and dignity. My current job furloughed over half our staff, leaving about 5 to 7 workers in the building. Never got any of us tested. Waited over 2 months to provide masks that they didn't even hand out to all the employees. There are still 3 boxes of masks sitting on a shelf at my job for like the last several months. And if we get tested for COVID, we don't get paid, whether we test negative or positive. We have to use our PTO or sick time, which is very little, if we get tested and still want to make money while in quarantine. People vastly underestimate what it takes to raise multiple children at once. Program managers for large defense companies, like B Systems and Raytheon. Oh hey, I work at one of those places, but not as a PM, thankfully. Daycare workers. I didn't realize it until I was one, but the daily bullshit kids and parents put them through. Wow. I was a VPK teacher for a year and literally couldn't take it anymore, and I adore kids. Admin assistants / office managers. Their desk is a literal dumping ground of things no one else wants to do. They can have a pretty clear day and out of nowhere be buried. If they have particular bad bosses, it can be a relentlessly depressing position. I respect the hell out of anyone that does this job well and somehow with a smile across their face. And hey, no worries if you can't smile today. I got out of my way to see if I can lend a hand on a slow day. A little help can go a long way. I worked this position many years ago for a particularly terrible pair of human beings, and I swore I'd never let another human drown, just because it's not in my job title. Food delivery drivers. Call center agents. I know we all dread talking to them, and that's the point. It sucks working in a call center getting yelled at day in and day out, and when working for a utility company I was bound by regulation, and could not do much to lower bills or give credits. Got yelled at and manipulated and nitpicked by customers all the time. Call centers are tough because people basically only call in if they have a problem. I work for a bank call center and it's draining work. It has to be, especially that you're dealing with people's money. They get weird. Oh my god, please give us teachers more respect and money. I'm littered with debt. I have master's degree, and since I live in Vermont, I make under $50k. Yeah, that's with a master's and 18 more credits. I'm so tired all the time and now, ! Have to live with the fact that I might get my immediate household family sick with a deadly virus. Children's dentist. Software development. We are very quick to point out when software goes wrong, but completely take it for granted when it runs great. Cooks. Make the same as waitresses without the tips and work twice as hard. Bartending. Cooks/chefs. TV makes it look really cool and fun to be a chef. Like, oh yeah, I'm just playing with food all day and get to make new awesome dishes. Thought this was my dream job until 1. Started working in kitchens and regularly worked 9 to 12 hour shifts with no breaks or food. 2. Got severely burned a few times and got very little to no first aid and had to finish my shift in extreme pain before I could take care of it or get it looked at. Also, can't tell you how many times the kitchen had been closed anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes and my ingredients getting wrapped and put away, and a server rings in a ticket for a customer. They get to play it off as them doing the customer a really big favor and most likely getting a large tip from them. I got an extra $10 for getting held up an extra hour already exhausted and starving. Customer service representatives. Firefighters. Being a Redditor, I don't think people realize the effort and the love we put on our comments. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.